They say a happy marriage is a mosaic you build with your partner, a collection of thousands of tiny moments that together create a work of art. For 15 years, my life with Jake was my masterpiece. Our world was a sun-drenched canvas of inside jokes whispered over morning coffee, the comforting weight of his hand in mine during late-night movies, and the sound of our children's laughter echoing through the halls of the home he had promised to build for me. I remember one of our first dates. We went to a small, rundown carnival on the outskirts of town. It started to rain, a sudden summer downpour that sent everyone else running for cover. But Jake just laughed, pulled me onto the deserted Ferris wheel, and bribed the operator to give us one more ride. At the very top, with the rain-streaked lights of the city spread out below us, he looked at me and said, "With you, Lily, even the storm feels beautiful." In that moment, he was my hero, my safe harbor. That was the man I married, the man I built my life around. And in this perfect picture, there was another essential piece, Emma. My Emma. She was there for everything. When my mother passed away, it was Emma who held me all night, letting me cry until I had no tears left. She was the one who practically moved in for a month after my son Ben was born, changing diapers and making meals so I could sleep. She wasn't just a friend. She was the sister I'd chosen for myself, the bedrock of my support system. The three of us, Jake, Emma, and I, we were an institution, a fortress of love and trust. I believed the foundation of our world was built on solid rock, unshakable and eternal. I was so wrong. It was built on sand poised to be washed away by the first treacherous tide. The first crack appeared on a Tuesday. It was the 15th anniversary of the day I met Jake. To celebrate, I was making his favorite coq au vin, letting it simmer for hours until the aroma of wine and herbs filled the entire house. The kids were at a sleepover, and I'd planned a quiet romantic evening for just the two of us. When he walked in, he looked tired. The day's weight settled on his shoulders. He dropped his briefcase by the door, gave me a perfunctory kiss on the cheek, and headed straight upstairs to change. As I set the table with our best china, my phone buzzed. It was Emma. "Hey, you!" her cheerful voice chirped through the speaker. "Just calling to check in. Don't forget, Jake's parents' big 3-0 is just a few weeks away. Have you thought about what you're wearing to the party of the century?" We chatted for a few minutes, the conversation easy and familiar. She was Auntie M, always there, always involved. "Give Jake a kiss for me," she said before hanging up. "Tell him I said happy metaversary." I smiled. Of course she remembered. She was part of our story. Later, while tidying up Jake's home office, a space I rarely entered, my hand brushed against a crumpled piece of paper in the wastebasket. Curiosity got the better of me. I smoothed it out. It was a receipt from a high-end jewelry boutique in the city Cartier. It was dated last week. My eyes scanned the item line, Trinity Necklace SM. My breath caught in my throat. It was exquisite and expensive. A slow smile spread across my face. Our wedding anniversary was next month. He was planning a surprise. I felt a pang of guilt for finding it for spoiling the magic, but it was a warm, happy guilt. I carefully folded the receipt and tucked it into my own jewelry box, my heart fluttering with anticipation. He really did love me. That evening over dinner, I tried to subtly probe. "Anything exciting happen at work this week?" I asked, pouring him a glass of wine. He shrugged, his eyes glued to his phone, his thumb moving in a relentless scroll. "Nah, same old," drowning in spreadsheets. "You haven't been near the Fifth Avenue offices at all. I thought you had that big meeting there." He shook his head, not looking up. "No, that got moved. Been stuck in the Midtown office all week. A total nightmare." A tiny, dissonant chord struck in my mind. The Cartier boutique was right next to the Fifth Avenue office. It was a small lie, an insignificant one. He's just protecting the surprise, I told myself. He's being extra careful. I forced the unease down, choosing to believe in the man who once made a storm feel beautiful. But the seed of doubt, small and resilient, had been planted. A few days later, the seed began to sprout. Jake came home late, well past midnight. "Client dinner went long," he mumbled, shrugging off his suit jacket. As he leaned in to kiss me, I caught it. A fragrance. It wasn't my perfume, a light citrusy scent. This was something else, a heady, expensive mix of tuberose and sandalwood. It was distinctive. It was unforgettable. Because I had helped Emma pick it out for her birthday last year. It was her signature scent. My blood ran cold. I stood frozen in the hallway as he went upstairs. The house was silent, but my mind was a screaming chaos of denial and fear. Coincidence. It has to be a coincidence. Maybe one of the clients was wearing it. Maybe he just hugged a colleague goodbye. I ran through the possibilities, each one sounding more pathetic than the last. I went to the bathroom and splashed cold water on my face, looking at my reflection. "You're being paranoid, Lily," I whispered. "You're tired, stressed." But the doubt wouldn't leave. The next day, I felt a chasm opening between us. When he called me honey, it sounded hollow. I found myself watching him, studying him as if he were a stranger. He seemed more protective of his phone, angling it away from me when he texted. One evening, I saw him smile at a message, and when I asked what was funny, he just said, "Oh, just a dumb meme from work," and quickly locked the screen. The lie was lazy and it was insulting. Sleep became a luxury I could no longer afford. The image of the necklace and the ghost of Emma's perfume haunted me. Around 3 a.m., after another night of staring at the ceiling, I slipped out of bed and went downstairs. The house was dark, but the screen of the family iPad cast a faint glow from the kitchen counter. With a sense of grim inevitability, I picked it up. Jake was always logged into his accounts, too careless or too arrogant to think he had anything to hide from me. My fingers trembled as I opened the web browser. The search history was the first blow. Romantic weekend getaways near Napa. Best wineries for couples. Auberge du Soleil rates. My stomach twisted into a knot. I navigated to his Google Maps. My heart hammered against my ribs. There it was. A saved location pin dropped onto the famously romantic and secluded hotel in Napa Valley. The date it was saved, 2 weekends ago. The same weekend, Jake had been on a mandatory business retreat, and Emma had been visiting a sick aunt in Sacramento. The air left my lungs. It couldn't be. It was too cruel, too cinematic, but I had to know. With a sense of morbid determination, I went to the hotel's Instagram page. I clicked on their tagged photos, a stream of happy couples and sun-drenched landscapes. I scrolled back my thumb, moving mechanically until I reached the date of their separate trips. And then I saw it. A photo posted by another guest, a candid shot of them toasting with champagne. The caption read, "Another beautiful day in paradise." In the blurred background by the infinity pool was a sight that shattered my world. It was undeniably Jake, the back of his head, and his broad shoulders unmistakable. And laughing beside him, her head thrown back into light, was a woman with Emma's distinct, fiery auburn hair. The final fatal blow came from our own family cloud storage, the one Jake had set up years ago to automatically back up photos from all our devices, a convenience he had clearly forgotten. I found a folder mislabeled with a bland corporate name, Q3 Projections. My finger hovered over it, my body bracing for impact. Inside, there was no spreadsheet. There was only betrayal captured in high resolution. Dozens of photos. Jake and Emma toasting with wine on a private balcony. Jake and Emma wrapped in white hotel robes, their faces flushed with secrets. And then the image that stopped my heart. A selfie taken by Jake. Emma was looking at the camera, a smug, triumphant smile on her face, and around her neck, gleaming against her skin, was the delicate 3-banded gold of the Cartier Trinity necklace. The anniversary gift. It was never meant for me. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. A strange, glacial numbness spread through my veins, freezing the pain before it could consume me. The sheer audacity of it all was breathtaking. They hadn't just betrayed me. They had made a mockery of my life, of my love of our children's godmother. In the silent, sterile glow of the iPad screen, I felt the woman I used to be, the loving, trusting, naive wife, quietly die. And in her place, something else, something cold and sharp began to take shape. The weeks leading up to the party were a masterclass in performance art. I became the wife Jake had always wanted, attentive, cheerful, unbothered. I became the friend Emma thought she had, supportive, a little needy, and completely oblivious. My pain was a furnace, but on the surface I was porcelain cool and smooth. The gaslighting was subtle but constant. "You seem on edge lately, Lily," Jake said one night, feigning concern. "Is everything okay? You're so quiet." I just smiled and said I was tired. Emma was worse. "I'm so glad I have you," I told her over coffee, my voice perfectly pitched with manufactured vulnerability. "Jake's been so distant lately, so wrapped up in work. I don't know what I'd do without you to talk to." I watched her face, a canvas of faux sympathy. "Oh, sweetie," she cooed, squeezing my hand. "He's just stressed. Men are like that. He adores you. Don't you ever doubt that." The lie was so smooth, so practiced. I felt a flicker of admiration for her skill, followed by a wave of revulsion. While playing my part, I gathered my ammunition. I downloaded every photo, every damning digital breadcrumb. I created a secure password-protected folder on a thumb drive, a small black archive of my husband's and my best friend's treachery. But I needed more. I needed their own words. A quiet confrontation would be my word against theirs. They would call me hysterical crazy. The truth needed a bigger stage. It needed an audience. The masterstroke came to me in a flash of inspiration. One Saturday, I told Jake I was treating him by having his car professionally detailed, an early anniversary present. "You work so hard, honey, you deserve it," I said, kissing his cheek. While the car was being cleaned, I discreetly planted a tiny high-fidelity audio recorder the size of a sugar cube under the passenger seat. Listening to the recordings each night was a unique form of self-torture. I sat in my darkened office, headphones on, as the life I knew was dismantled word by word. I heard them laugh about my cluelessness. She even asked me if I'd been to Fifth Avenue. Jake's voice chuckled. I almost laughed in her face. She has no idea. I heard them plan their future. "Just a few more weeks, Em." His voice low and intimate. "After my parents' party. I don't want to ruin their big moment. After that, I'll tell her. We'll finally be free." "What will you say?" Emma's voice, a sickening mix of excitement and feigned concern. "The usual. We've grown apart. It's not her, it's me. All that crap. You'll be there to help her pick up the pieces, of course. The devoted best friend." They both laughed, a cold, cruel sound that echoed in the hollow space where my heart used to be. They had handed me their script. Now I would write the final act. The next day, I approached my father-in-law, a kind, gentle man I genuinely loved. "David," I said, my voice filled with warmth, "for your and Margaret's anniversary, I want to do something special, a This Is Your Life style video tribute. Would it be okay if I set up a projector and screen in the garden?" His face lit up. "Lily, that's a wonderful idea. Of course, whatever you need." For the next week, I locked myself in my office every night. I became a filmmaker, an editor, a storyteller. The video was my weapon. I spent hours staring at photos of happier times, my heart aching, but my resolve hardening with every click of the mouse. I wove the tapestry of our lives together, wholesome family photos, smiling children Christmas mornings, and then ripped it apart with the hard evidence of their affair. The pictures, the map screenshots, and most devastatingly, the audio clips. Their whispers, their laughter, their plans to discard me. It was a symphony of betrayal. I saved the final cut to a tablet, my heart beating a steady, resolute rhythm. The stage was set. The night of the party was a perfect California evening. The air was warm, scented with night-blooming jasmine from my mother-in-law's garden. String lights twinkled like captured stars. Over 100 people milled around the sprawling backyard family, from out-of-state lifelong friends, and most importantly, Jake's most influential business partners, the men he was so desperate to impress. Jake was in his element, the charming, successful son, a drink in one hand, the other draped casually on the shoulder of a potential investor. Emma was a vision in a blood-red dress, flitting through the crowd like she owned the place. They were a king and queen holding court in a kingdom built on my tears. I made my entrance. I had chosen my armor carefully, a floor-length gown in a striking cobalt blue. It was elegant, powerful, and cool. My calm was a placid lake hiding the monster that lurked beneath. I moved through the party, a gracious hostess, the perfect wife. I hugged my mother-in-law, Margaret, who squeezed my hand and whispered, "You are the rock of this family, Lily. We are so lucky to have you." The irony was a physical blow, but I just smiled. An hour into the festivities, when the laughter was at its loudest and the champagne was flowing freely, I walked to the small stage where the jazz trio was playing. I took the microphone from its stand. "Excuse me, everyone," I said. My voice amplified, cut through the din. The chatter faded. Every head turned towards me. I saw Jake and Emma look over their expressions, a mixture of curiosity and pride. They thought I was about to give a toast. "We're here tonight to celebrate something truly rare and beautiful," I began, my voice clear and steady. 30 years of marriage, 30 years of love, loyalty, and trust. These are the pillars that hold a family together, a legacy of integrity we hope to pass on to our own children. I let my eyes find Jake's in the crowd. He smiled and gave me a little nod of encouragement. "To honor Margaret and David," I continued, "and to share a small story about the enduring power of love, I've prepared a little gift, a video celebrating 30 years of promises kept, and a lesson in what happens when vows are broken." I gave a subtle nod to the tech I'd hired, who stood discreetly by the projector. The screen lit up. The video began with soft, sentimental music, a black and white photo of David and Margaret on their wedding day. The crowd awed. It transitioned to photos of them through the years raising their children, then a photo from my own wedding day. Jake looking at me with what I once believed was adoration. Photos of our children being born. Photos of them growing up laughing on swings pushed by Auntie Emma. It was a beautiful, heartbreaking tribute to a life that was a lie. People were visibly moved. Margaret was dabbing her eyes with a napkin. Then the music scratched to a sudden, jarring halt. The screen went black. For a moment there was only silence. Then an audio clip crystal clear filled the night air. It was Jake's voice from the recorder in his car. "Just a few more weeks, Em. After the party, I'll tell her. We'll finally be free." A single collective gasp sucked the air out of the garden. The screen flashed to life again this time with the photo from the Napa Hotel, Jake and Emma kissing their faces alight with illicit joy. The image was replaced by a screenshot of the hotel booking confirmation. Then the close-up selfie of Emma smiling smugly wearing my anniversary gift. It was a brutal, rapid-fire assault of truth. The crowd was in stunned silence. I raised the microphone back to my lips. My voice, no longer warm, was as cold and sharp as a shard of glass. "This necklace," I said, my voice ringing with righteous fury, "was Jake's anniversary gift. It just wasn't for our anniversary." I watched as every face turned from the screen to stare at the two of them. I saw Jake's business partners, their expressions shifting from confusion to disgust. I saw his parents, their faces collapsing in on themselves with shock and heartbreak. Jake himself was the color of ash, his mouth hanging open, paralyzed. Emma looked like she was about to be physically ill, her hands flying to her mouth in a gesture of pure horror. I didn't wait for the screaming to start. I didn't need to hear their pathetic excuses or witness their humiliation up close. My work was done. I placed the microphone gently back on its stand, the small thud echoing in the cavernous silence. I looked at Jake one last time, my eyes conveying not hatred but a final, irrevocable dismissal. Then I looked at Emma, the ghost of 15 years of friendship, and felt nothing but a profound, empty pity. I turned my back on the wreckage of their lives and walked away. I moved through the crowd of stunned guests, my head held high, my steps even and sure. As I reached my car, my phone began to explode with notifications, but I ignored them. I drove away from the house, from the life I once knew, not looking back in the rearview mirror. A few miles down the road, I pulled over. My hands were shaking, not from fear, but from release. The phone rang. It was Margaret, my mother-in-law. I hesitated, then answered. "Lily," her voice was broken. I don't know what to say." "There's nothing to say, Margaret," I said, my own voice surprisingly steady. My son, how could he? And Emma, in my own home. She was weeping now. I am so sorry, my dear girl. That was all I needed to hear. It's not your fault, I said softly and ended the call. The house sold quickly. We're moving. A new city, a new school, a new life. As I tape up the final box labeled Kitchen Essentials, I feel a sense of peace I haven't known in years. The revenge I realize now was never really about them. It wasn't about inflicting pain for pain's sake. It was about reclaiming the truth. It was about refusing to be the silent collateral damage in their selfish story. It was about showing my children Chloe and Ben that no one has the right to steal your dignity. And that you must always stand up for yourself, even when your voice shakes. They thought they could tear down the home Jake had built for me. But they were wrong. A home isn't just wood and nails. A home is truth. It's integrity. It's the strength to protect your heart. My gilded cage is broken, its bars twisted and useless. And for the first time in a very long time, I can feel the sun on my face, and I know with absolute certainty that I am free. My story didn't end that night. It was just the beginning.